So in today's video, I'm sharing 7 steps for how to improve your decision-making process by trusting yourself. Because when you don't know how to make good decisions, you end up either avoiding making them or you make the wrong one and really regret it later. Now, if you're new, my name's Michelle Ferris. I'm a psychotherapist and I love helping people create relationships that work. So the first step in improving your decision-making process is addressing and naming the fear. So usually what gets people stuck is making the wrong decision or possibly hurting the ones they love. In 12-step programs, there's a great acronym for that, which stands for false evidence appearing real, which means that you're making up something that hasn't even happened yet. You're assuming the worst rather than staying in the moment. Because let's face it, I've tried to predict certain decisions and I'm never right. Even though I'm a counselor and I'm really intuitive, I can't predict the future, and neither can you. Part of what's going to help you make better decisions is naming that fear and being able to challenge it by saying, you know what, nothing's happened yet. It probably is false evidence appearing real, because most of our fears don't come to pass. So the next step in improving your decision-making process is paying close attention to that initial reaction or gut feeling you have about the decision. So you've probably made a decision and in the first 10 seconds had an intuitive thought or feeling like, uh-oh, this is not right. I shouldn't be making this decision. Or maybe I need to wait. And what we do is we dismiss that thought instead of honoring it. So what I want you to do is just notice, have you ever dismissed your own intuition? You can say yes in the comments. So if you're trying to make a decision right now, look back on that initial feeling. Was it positive? Were you excited? Or was there some thought that, you know what, this doesn't feel right? Because that hesitation is your intuitive thought that's going to help you make better decisions in the long run. Because often our initial reaction to something has an important grain of truth in it. That ability to listen to your own perceptions and start honoring them. So the next step in improving your decision-making process is to gather as much information as possible about your decision. This might look like Googling certain terms. You might Google leaving my relationship, tips and strategies. What are some things you need to read about so that you can make a better decision? And often Google can be a great first step to do some research. Another way to do this is to talk to somebody who has gone through this exact same process. For instance, if you're wanting to buy a house and you're really not sure, talk to somebody who's done it, because they're going to give you another perspective of what worked, what didn't, what they might have wanted to do differently, and that's going to help you in your decision-making process, to talk to people who have done what you're wanting to do, because that's how you can start to trust yourself and make better decisions. This knowledge is also going to help lessen your anxiety and fear around decision making, because you're going to use the facts you've learned to make a better decision. I can't tell you how many times I have made a decision on the spot and regretted it later. For instance, I had a couple of book offers years ago and I really struggled with it because I'm not a detail-oriented person. So I Googled it. After I read a few articles, I was like, nope, I don't want to do that. And that helped me feel like I had the knowledge to make a good decision for myself. So another step for how to improve your decision-making process is identify areas where you could get stuck. Often this could be feeling guilty for making the decision, or it's selfish to think of yourself. That's a really important belief that you need to work through in order to make better decisions, because you have every right to make a decision that's best for you. Now, a common place where you might get stuck is making a decision because you think it's best for everybody else, but not for you. That's a bad decision. So part of making good decisions is making sure they work for you, because that's not selfish or self-centered. That's how you create a happier, healthier life. Another area where you might get stuck is self-doubt, thinking that you're going to make the wrong decision and it's going to come back to bite you. You might worry that you don't make good decisions, or you have to have somebody else sign off on it first. But let's face it, decisions, like anything else, is a practiced behavior. We have to do it to get better at it. And part of why listening to that initial thought is so important is because that's your intuition. That's the place that you are going to make this decision from, is that place of your truth, not everybody else's truth, because that's how you make good decisions. So another step in how to improve your decision making, I learned in 12-step programs. So one person told me years ago, there are 3 ways God or your higher power or the universe answers your problem: yes, no, or wait. What I mean by that is, have you ever had a decision in front of you and all the doors opened? Everything was easy and effortless and there were no roadblocks. That's when the universe or your higher power is aligning everything up in your favor and it's really easy to see. So you end up saying yes because it feels 100% true for you. On the opposite side, when you get a no, all the obstacles are in your face. We can't do anything to move things ahead. I've tried to make certain decisions where everything was in my way, and I stopped and I realized, okay, you know what? I'm probably not meant to make this decision because there's so many roadblocks. If you've ever noticed that you too have had a lot of roadblocks when trying to make a decision, say me too in the comments, because maybe it's not the best time to make that decision. Which leads to the third option, which is wait. When you're trying to make a decision and you're getting a lot of confusion or obstacles in your way, it's probably best to wait. Because if you feel a little impatient, like you really need to make this decision today, there's no rush. You can take a couple of days or even a couple of weeks, depending on how big of a decision it is. And that's really important, to give yourself that time to really think it through instead of making an impulsive decision that you're going to regret later. Next step in improving your decision-making process is to be in the right frame of mind when making the decision. Trying to make a decision when you're stressed or sad or super tired doesn't usually go well. For me, I remember years ago, I made a hasty decision because I was super afraid and it didn't go well. Because in the heat of the moment, I let my fear dictate my decision. And looking back, I had plenty of time to take to really think it through, to call somebody and get feedback, but I didn't do that. And it was a really important lesson for me, because when we're not in the right frame of mind to make good decisions, we make decisions that actually hurt us. And I don't want that for you. So being in the right frame of mind might be centering yourself, doing some journaling, doing some prayer or meditation, taking a walk before making your decision, making some phone calls. You can make this decision with confidence and not self-doubt. So another step to improving your decision-making process and learning to trust yourself is ask yourself this question: is this a decision that you have the ability to make? Because sometimes what happens is we're trying to make a decision and it's not happening because it's not our decision to make. We're trying to control people, places, or things outside of us, and it's really not up to us to be able to make that decision. So for instance, if you're in a relationship with someone and you want to change their behavior and you're trying to make a decision to better their life, that's not a decision that you have power to make. So part of what you need to do is recognize, are you trying to control or manipulate an outcome that's probably going to cause more frustration for you? Because if that's the case, you don't have to make the decision because it's not yours to make. Now the next thing I want you to do is go watch my video on how to forgive yourself for making mistakes, because that's often part of what we do to ourselves in decision making. Thanks so much.